This tutorial will be focused on how to create and manage assignments in PowerTeacher Gradebook. Alright, so here we are back with our physics class. It's the same one I created the categories and did the grade setup for in the previous tutorial. And at this point I've added some assignments. So these columns were all blank when we first opened the class at the beginning of the semester. And I've added some assignments here. And they're in different categories. So the colors that we selected for the categories when they were created are showing up in the assignment titles so that we can see what's what at a glance. Something that's kind of neat is that if you wanted to just look at assignments in a certain category, you can filter your view. So right now the filter is off, so I can see all assignments at this time. But if I wanted to look at maybe just the application assignments, I can filter what is selected, and in that case, the 3 assignments that I've put in the application category are the only ones that will show up on the page. So that filter view can be really useful if you want to look at trends in a certain category for one or more students. It's really nice to be able to sometimes limit the amount of information on the screen at one time. I find that's useful just because a screen that's completely full can be sort of visually noisy. I have a couple of more assignments that I wanted to add here, and then you can see how it is that we add them. So right now I'm looking at the score sheet. This is where we would actually enter information for each student, so their letter or number grade for each assignment. If we hit the assignment tab, we have a list of assignments here, and we can see which category they're in and what their abbreviation is, and how many points are possible for these assignments. And I want to show you how to add a new one. So near the lower left corner we have a plus sign. That's how we add new assignments. When you click the plus sign, this dialog pops up. And we can scroll up and down and still take a look at our assignments at the top. So the last one that I added was assignment number 10. It was one of the marks for my unit test. And I prefer when I'm entering assignment names, and I used to do the same thing for Markbook. I really liked things to be in order. And if you want things to be in order, there are a couple things that are important. So the reason I'm numbering my assignments, you certainly don't have to, but one of the reasons is that if I alphabetize them, then they'll immediately go in chronological order. It's also important to indicate a due date for the assignment. That helps keep them in order. And you might ask, why would that be important? But when you print out individual student reports, that show their grades for their assignments, it's nice if they show up in an order that's intuitive and not kind of random looking. Some of the original reports I printed out were pretty ugly. So I'm going to say this assignment number 11 is our lab exam in this course. I can use this drop down to choose the category. So the lab exam is one of my culminating activities. And right now the default for culminating activity is that it will be included in the final grade. The weight is 1. It's out of a certain number of points. The default is 10 points. So I told you earlier when we set up categories, these are the defaults that appear when you create a new assignment. And it doesn't mean that you can't change them. So I'm going to change this to a percentage. At that point, it doesn't matter what I've got in the points box. The percentage is the thing that the grade is going to be based on. And I'm going to choose a date that's after the dates for the other assignments that I chose. So that the unit test marks that I entered, I had them on February 11th, so I'm choosing the 12th because I want the culminating activity to happen after that unit test. All right, there's an opportunity here to put a description of the assignment, and this is where you might want to indicate which categories are encompassed in the assignment. And so in the case of culminating activities, we're usually thinking about all of those categories. So that's a nice place to be able to put that for yourself. If I press the save button, then up at the top, that lab exam has appeared as a new assignment. And I can hit the plus button immediately and create another new assignment. So I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so the X here is what can get you out of this menu. If I hit the X, they will close this window, and now I'm looking at all of my assignments. So the last two that I added were in the category culminating activity, and if we take a look right now, the weight for all of the assignments is 1. So I'm just going to do a little bit of filtering so we can take a closer look at this. So if I take a look at just my application assignments, I have 3 application assignments. If we think about our grade setup, we said that application was worth 17.5% of our final grade for this course. So that means with the weights written as they are here, each of those assignments will be 1/3 of 17.5% because they're weighted equally and there are 3 of them. So if I take a look at culminating activity, these 2 culminating activities are equally weighted. So the lab exam and the written exam will each take up half of the 30% for the culminating activity. So we have the opportunity to change that if we want. So it might be that I want my written exam to be worth more than my lab exam. So I just double clicked on the weight there. You can double click on the assignment or you can click on the arrow to have your menu pop back up. And if I change this weight to 2 and save it, that means now the total weight for this category is 3. 1/3 of the 30% will be the lab exam, and 2/3 of the 30% are going to be the written exam. So that means my lab exam is worth 10%, my written exam is worth 20%. Changing this number doesn't change anything in any other category. So if I looked at knowledge and understanding or inquiry, here in my inquiry category, inquiry is worth 17.5% of the final grade. And right now, these 3 assignments are each taking up an equal portion of that 17.5%. All right, so the weights within the categories will determine a percentage grade for that category, and that grade will then be used to calculate the final grade. If you take a look at the gradebook guide, the link has been provided. You may have actually gotten to this tutorial from there. There are some detailed calculations, some examples to show you exactly how this works. It's really important that you understand how you're setting things up. So right now, my 17.5% knowledge is divided equally between a quiz and a test, and I might want to change that so that those 2 things are not equally weighted within that category. So I hope that helps. I'm going to turn my filter off here. I'm going to stick with this number of assignments for the tutorial so that things are fairly straightforward. And the next tutorial will focus on how to enter grades and other information for students for each of their assignments.